Chapter 5. What the effing-Eff freaking A is happening? I want to be clear on one thing. I hate the F word. In fact, I've never said it, and I really hate when people use the names of deities with disrespect. But also, I love Utah cuss slang. WTF, freak, OMG, effing effer, mofo, for shiz, and all those types of words. That's literally what I hear in my head and mean to say when I use them. Nothing more than face value or sound. I realize this might not be true for everyone. Sorry if you don't like it. I once had someone ask me if I knew what an acronym meant that I'd used in a group text. I was so stupid to explain it to them and tell them how you can look these things up on Urban Dictionary. Yeah, she knew already. Just want to make sure that I knew how offensive I was. Oops. That was a relapse in shame for me. I was naughty. It only lasted a few days, fortunately. This is a good lesson that unless you're an expert shape-shifting people pleaser, some people won't like what you have to say or even like you. Fixing your teen requires that you like yourself enough that they can call you out, disagree with you, and even tell you that they hate you and your kid, giving lots of reasons why. Step 4 is looking at social norms and tossing the ones causing harm. Some people won't like your kid. Some people who are called to love and protect them will do the opposite. WTF. Enter in Lark's Young Women's Leaders, what LDS youth group leaders at church are called. She was now around 15 years old. Her dislike of attending church was well established. Youth group starts the year a kid turns 12, and the adult leaders are called, not hired. Leaders are also rotated every few years, and while she was loved and supported upon entry, a new leadership change had occurred. The amount of trust that I and all parents have that these adults will be kind, teach good things, support and love and guide their most precious child cannot be put into words. It really does take a village to raise a teen. And if you haven't noticed, there are several years where the parent's opinion is the least valued, followed, listened to perspective of any that your kid could hear. They can sometimes do the opposite just to spite their parents. Enter the sway of a church leader. The potential is huge. Kids want someone smart to look up to that isn't their clueless, annoying parent. If played right, they circle back and see that their parents are great. This is just a developmental thing and neurologically normal. Lark was hesitant but hopeful as the new leadership took their place. She was open-minded and gave them the opportunity to win her trust. Let's call her Leader 1. Started talking to other leaders about whether my sweet girl was honest in achieving her Young Women's Medallion, an award much like an Eagle Scout achievement. I heard about it. Fortunately, she didn't until now. Enter in the what the effing-Eff freaking crap is happening, but for reals. Are we in junior high again? It was so catty, gossipy, and juvenile that my sense of trust was sent spinning. I could more easily see women attacking me. I'd heard women say that they wanted to bring me donuts to fatten me up, for example, but seriously? A young lady, a child, one that you're supposed to protect and love? Bestie, I want to pause here and tell you that I love you, that I have your back, and that I am in full support of the more recent movement of women supporting and cheering other women on. I love your successes. I desire the best life for you. I know that your being wonderful and powerful is a benefit to all women and the entire world. Value, beauty, talents, amazingness isn't a paycheck to be divvied up and prayed for, that there's enough for everyone to go around. We all have our own glass ceiling to bust wide open and reach for the endless possibilities. Each of us. Your crushing it gives me hope that I can too. Your owning inner goddess shows me my inner goddess. I love it when you win. There is more than enough success and goodness for all of us. So obviously, this woman tearing down my baby girl was baffling. Like, seriously, why? I believed Lark to be honest, but let's say she wasn't. Does that actually matter? Wouldn't that be between her and God and nobody else's business? Would it make her less worthy of love and quality leadership? Nope, not if you're trying to do the way things Christ would. Needless to say, the vibes at church were rapidly going south. Sunday mornings were the worst. They began with my dread and anxiety over how Lark would lash out at me, how I could respond, and how I could get her to church. Then her leaders would continue with exactly what I feared most happening. Then I heard about how awful it was for the rest of the day. How stupid people are, how rude and wrong and antiquated they are. Super fun for me. Conflict was the feeling, being a good parent by getting my whole family to church and then hell to pay for it. Not having love at home was the mood. Full confession. I was still stuck on the firm belief that there was one right way. The whole family goes to church or else. We're bad, we'd failed as parents, we'd sinned, that she was doomed to a life of sin and misery. God was disappointed in us. All of the pretty things parents get so hung up on that they can't see the actual truth. Perhaps you're hung up on a certain big thing that your teen is doing that makes you feel like a giant crappy failure. What is it, bestie? Here's the truth. Agency. They get to do as they please. Yes, let's teach them, hold them accountable, love them like crazy no matter what. And most importantly, drop making it mean we suck. Tell your brain to slow down with the end of the world assumptions that they're screwed and God is disappointed. We don't actually know any of that. And when we try to love our kid from that brain space, we show up less than unconditionally loving and supportive. Unfortunately, Leader 1 was not the final blow. To give you the backstory, I was not with Lark 24/7 when she was with her youth group. I've served at girls' camps cooking, and I am pretty socially aware. I also know my daughter and her heart. She is good despite putting on a tough exterior to protect herself. It was a typical dreadful Sunday. Unfortunately, I don't have any journal entries to give you my exact thoughts, but I remember it still very well. Leader 2. She was not someone I'd picked to work with the youth as she tended toward the negative. But as I am generally optimistic, I hope for the best. Nope. My baby girl, already hating to go to church, was clearly upset one day coming home from church. We were headed home in the car. She told me what had gone down in her young women's class. She and a couple of other girls sat in the back of the room. They were unfortunately looking at someone's phone on Instagram while the teacher taught her lesson. Leader 2 went to the back of the room and chewed them out for being so disrespectful. In front of everyone, with an elevated voice. My heart dropped through my chest and the car and died on the asphalt. This was the final blow. This was the last straw. What the freak? How on earth did this leader think that that was in any way appropriate or Christ-like? Yes, she could have been paying attention. But they weren't being loud. They were at the back of the room, and for the love of all that is holy, they were there. For the last time. That was the last time Lark went. I realized that it was not a safe or welcoming place for her, and we made a deal. She would come to the first hour where we'd all be together, and then she could choose where to be. It all clicked. Jesus didn't want her mistreated. I didn't want her mistreated, gossiped about, or yelled at. Maybe looking the part of a good family wasn't the goal, or goodness. Maybe being a good parent meant protecting your kids from those who were supposed to be a support. Maybe living the gospel of Jesus Christ didn't look the same for any one family or individual. One of her friends at church was also told that they could no longer be friends because they went for coffee together with a few other friends. in the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we're taught to avoid coffee, alcohol, and drugs. This mom basically told Lark and me to our faces that she was a bad influence and that her daughter could no longer be Lark's friend. This also happened to be a girl who needed love and support and would often come to our home and complain about the very real and big struggles in her family life. We were a stable, safe home, and her mother denied her our love. It broke my heart. How are all of these women treating my baby like she was a leper? Like their kid would catch something rather than a person to love and give love. But it gets better. Leader 2 apparently realized that she'd stepped too far. Or so was the pretense that she invited the few girls over to make amends. I should have gone. I was so not where I am now. But I didn't go. I let those girls walk into a lion's den alone. Leader 2 didn't apologize, but rather justified her actions without an adult audience. She called them the mean girls of the congregation, told them that all the other girls and leaders were scared of them, and further dug the knife into my baby girl. I was livid when Lark got home and gave me the full report. Fortunately, she was amused by it and laughed it all off. We both knew enough to know that that was certainly not true, at least by her own behaviors. At girls' camp, I'd seen that she was always braiding younger girls' hair, helping out, and being kind to everyone. I knew this tight group of friends to have fun together, but through the years I had often seen them include girls standing around without a friend. This leader was dead wrong, and in my mind's eye, she had finalized Lark's exit from attending church. I was so hurt and betrayed by these women who are friends to my face. I don't know if they know the damage they did to her. I do know that she isn't the only one. Accounts of further mistreatment of other girls whom they drove from Christ's building are a thing. So what about them? I have tons of thoughts and feelings. I've moved through most of them and am generally at peace. There are no takebacks, so wondering what coulda, woulda, shoulda happened is not only futile but keeps me stuck in hurt and anger. Unfortunately, people cause harm to our babies. It's unavoidable. It didn't feel right to speak to any of them at the time. I'm not afraid to advocate, but this wasn't a useful place to do so. And even though I wasn't as knowledgeable as I am now, I'm happy with how our family supported Lark. I turned inward toward her, towards how I could love and help her. Do these women behave in ways I don't view as Christ-like? Yes. And also, they have the agency to do so. I was never mad at them, just hurt for my baby. Okay, maybe I was mad for a bit. And if you're there, I feel it with you. I know that you can work through it, and I'm here to help if you want. I'm just disappointed in these situations that made our hard time so much worse. Devastated that these leaders and mothers weren't their best selves, that they hadn't healed their wounds, did their spiritual maturing, and my girl, along with many others, suffered for it. Hurt people hurt people. I actually hate this phrase and completely disagree. Hurt people have choices just like the rest of us. In fact, we all have hurts, and blaming our wounds for our behaviors is BS. We can't use them as a pass for what we do or a crutch for behaviors we don't want to look at. This is childish and selfish. I'm calling it like it is, not in a hateful way, but in that honest, I love you enough to tell you the truth kind of way. I'm not going to blame them because that's not helpful to the solution. All of us, each collectively owning our crap and working on ourselves, is the solution. This is why I chose to drop my focus on feeling wronged and look to Lark, our family, and Christ for how to grow and figure it out. Again, if you're freshly wounded by clergy friends or family, this is a process best helped with a quality guide. It's okay to be still reeling and angry. Grab me, another friend or professional to help you out. And when you're ready to move on with it, it will be more smooth. Let's get back to how this example could help you fix your teen. I had to let go of what society deemed as good to discover what was good for our specific family situation. This can be really hard to change norms, to shift traditions, to see things in a different light. But it's an important step in fixing your teen. Everything should be up for consideration. It's the only way we find what fits your specific family. FYI, lots of people will freak and dislike the changes you make. That's okay. Follow your paternal intuition of what serves your family to the highest degree, what brings the best version of you and them out, and what is safe, nurturing, and unconditionally loving for you and them. Only you know what your highest form of integrity takes on. My wonderful friend, I believe in you. I just want to note that from the outside, this could look like you're being a cafeteria Christian or selectively picking and choosing commandments or social rules. People may whisper or say things. Learn to make peace with that. You will be able to tell the difference. You know what your religious doctrine is versus cultural norms. Pay attention to them. You know your social and cultural norms and how they affect you and others, good and bad. Pay attention to them. Choose the ones that bring you closer to your values. Please know that this isn't easy. It's what is best. This is often the harder choice, not the easier one. Dial into your intuition, the spirit, your highest form of integrity, and you'll be able to tell goodness from everything else others might point and accuse you of. God doesn't judge us based on what is seen, but by where our hearts are and the intention behind our words and actions. If you're into God, then just remember that He's the only one we're trying to please, and He's focusing on the inward stuff. What are you holding on to that you've been handed through family expectations, cultural norms, and religion? Some of these things will still be helpful, like feeding your kids, having some functional rules, and helping them learn to be adults. Other things may not work for you, and this, my friend, is official permission to let that shiz go. Seriously, let's take a deep breath together. Exhale and let the toxic crap out, never to bother us again. I also had to let go of how others chose to act. Dwelling on what isn't within your control is crazy making. And people who are with their kids are at the top of the crazy making list. Focus on loving your kid, not on the people who don't see their value and lovability. That's on them, not on you or your teen. Our children were not meant to fit in a box, which is good.